Thank you very much. For the purposes of those that are joining online, I will ask your indulgence to talk while my mask is down. The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Honorable Mangwana, the Chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Information, Media and Broadcasting Services, and members of the committee, the representatives of the Media Commission, the Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe, the Police Spokesperson, Assistant Commissioner, Paul Nyati, and the representatives of editors, journalists, media stakeholders, and ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2020 edition of the Media Stakeholders Conference, wherein as stakeholders we convene annually from state actors, non-state actors, civil society, and as the media broadly, to dissect and reflect on the developments within our industry over the last year, and also reflect on possible way forward, indeed not just for our industry but the country as a whole. This year's conference, it occurs on the day that we are commemorating the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists, which is a United Nations recognized day, and which Zimbabwe, as party to the United Nations family, also observes and also takes cognizance of, in light of promoting journalistic freedoms, in promoting freedom of expression as obtained within our country's constitution. So it is actually quite a significant day, and so on. So what we are going to do is we are just going to start with a round of introductions. Most people are joining us online. We have just, envisaged that we were going to get representatives, but just foresaw that all media stakeholders own their thing and they will come. So what we will do is, after the round of introductions and the earlier presentations, when we have our tea break, we are going to be moving into a more spacious room so that we can really observe social distancing and so forth. But the majority of media stakeholders are joining us online. But for the purposes of just knowing who each other, I'm going to ask those that are assisting us with the roving microphones to be moving it to get into the introductions before I hand over to Dr. Lighton Ngube, who is going to be leading the proceedings for this year's conference. So for those that may not know me, I am Nigel Nyamutumbu, the Secretariat of the Media Alliance of Zimbabwe, which is a network of media support and professional organizations, the Union, the Press Council, Media Institute of Southern Africa, Media Monitors, the Editors Forum, the community media representatives of community broadcasters, and also community publishers, the media center, all those that are within the sector are united in defense of the profession, in defense of free expression. So we'll just take that quick round of introductions. I quickly go through the resolutions and hand over to our facilitator. So I think we'll just start with Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much. My name is Foster, Secretary General, Zimbabwe Union of Journalists. Should I, even the leadership, or there's protocol? Or maybe there's protocol. Or maybe someone is going to stand up.
Izvi zvokungonzwa kuti state actors zvinobva zvakuvhiringidzai handiti. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Nick Mangwana, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services. Thank you for having me.
Hello everyone, my name is Lennox Mhlanga. I wear many hats. Today I'm a media consultant and also representing the Zimbabwe Center for Media and Information Studies.
Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Lighton Ngube. I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Media and Society Studies at the Middle State University. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lofty Dube. I work for the Voluntary Media Council of Zimbabwe.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is William Ponda. I'm representing the Southern Africa Editors Forum.
Morning. Morning, I'm Nyasha Nyakuna. I'm with Mr. Zimbabwe.
Morning. I'm Sylvia Manombo from the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services.
Good morning all. My name is Pelagia Kapuya, Chairperson for ZACRAS. I'm very happy to be attending a meeting which is not a Zoom one.
Good morning. My name is Abigail Tembo. I'm with the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation.
Morning, my name is Alex Rosero. I am a senior journalism and political studies lecturer and more importantly, an independent researcher.
Mangwana Naganaka. My name is Tonyo Rutsito. I'm with the Zimbabwe Online Content Creators. And just to remind you, this event is live. Thank you.
Salivanani. My name is Sipa Mokoni. I'm the new chairperson of the Media, Information and Broadcasting Services in Parliament.
Good morning. My name is Chikwinya Settlement, Member of Parliament of the Media, Information Broadcasting Services Committee of Parliament and a Member of Parliament from Bizo constituency.
Morning, my name is Kainton Sparadza. I'm a Member of Parliament, Member of the Committee, and a journalist as well.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Skangele Moyo from Center for Innovation and Technology.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Assistant Commissioner Nyat from the Police, Press and Public Relations. Thank you.
Morning, colleagues, and welcome. My name is Vivian Marara Shangaja, the Chairperson for the Media Alliance of Zimbabwe and also National Coordinator for the Zimbabwe Association of Community Radio Stations.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Masugu from Radio VOP.
Morning, colleagues. I'm Rashwet Mkundu. I'm a journalist.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nyaradzo Makombe, representing Zimpapers Radio, and I'm a board member for Gender Media Connect.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chaka Bosha, former ZUJ National Coordinator. I'm here representing myself.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm Tabani Moyo. I'm enjoying early retirement as a former chairperson of MAS.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mlondoloz Ndlovu. I'm from the Zimbabwe Association of Community Radio Stations.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nyasha Zashindura, I'm a journalist.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tafatwa Seisi, Makama Network.
Morning once more. I'm Costa Nkomo with newzimbabwe.co.
Good morning. My name is Maria Hlaseria, Media Committee Clerk.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Hove. I'm the Assistant Counsel to Parliament.
Morning, everyone. My name is Tinashe Muringai from Checkmate TV.
Morning, everyone. My name is Fanny Mapfumo from the Morning Post.
Thank you very much. Oh, okay, there's still. All right. Thank you, colleagues, for those introductions. Now at least we know who is who, and we are able to be honest, frank with each other, and also able to network. So, as I said, we are going to make some slight adjustments. The Minister of Justice was supposed to deliver remarks on the country's legislative agenda vis-a-vis the media reforms has been delayed, but it was prudent for us to start and so we'll just be rejigging the program. And as I also said, we are going to be upon tea break, we are going to move into a more spacious facility. So to just kickstart our program today, I'm going to quickly run through where we are insofar as what we agreed upon last year at the Jameson, and most stakeholders that are here from our PEMSEC state actors kwavhundutsa kwatotadza kutambidzwa mic to all other stakeholders and colleagues, what we agreed and resolved last year, we'll see whether we have been able to achieve anything or within any, or we are still on a journey on some of the things. The first resolution from last year was a commitment for us to maintain higher standards of professional and ethical journalism. Whether we did that or not will be a conversation that we are going to be having. The second was around maintaining a multi-stakeholder, consultative and transparent approach, which also includes citizens in the development and implementation of democratic media laws and other subsequent national media policies. On this one, I think there has been some multi-stakeholder consultative meetings. I think in this year alone, we have held quite a couple of engagements. One such notable engagement leading into the enactment of the Freedom of Information Act, the other being around media regulation, particularly the Zimbabwe Media Commission Bill, which we are still engaging, and which for now there is that recommendation of coming up with a media practitioners bill and other such pieces of legislation, the amendment to the Broadcasting Services Act, which we are still in conversation and are awaiting its gazetting. But we've also had other laws, the Cybersecurity and Data Protection Bill, which are at various stages within Parliament, within the legislature, and which we may still need to engage in that transparent manner. And so it's still really work in progress, and it's also really quite telling that it's part of this year's conference agenda. And then the other resolution was around co-regulation. And as I already spoke to that, there is that robust engagement to ensure that we have co-regulation on the basis of strengthening the self-regulatory mechanism, and also ensuring that there is a real one code of conduct that is enforced across the board by the Commission as the appellant body, and the self-regulatory mechanism being the first port of call in terms of holding the media to account. The fourth resolution was around engagements on community radios, particularly the regulations, which I now understand through the parliamentary process has now been, the regulations have been changed, and we have had two historic processes around the call for licensing of community radios and the call for television broadcasting, which really provide an opportunity. We are still in that process, and it's still open, and we all hope that it will bring out the media that we want in terms of it being plural, diverse, and open to a wide spectrum of actors. There was a resolution around advocating for the inclusion. I suspect this must have been the Secretary General Foster Dongozie, because it's an advocating for the inclusion of a clause in the Labour Act that clearly remedies sexual harassment in the workplace. So on that one, the colleagues here from Gender Media Connect and the union would also be able to speak to those issues. There was a resolution around strengthening advocacy in working towards the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation being a public service broadcaster in line with Section 61 of the Constitution. And this conversation will remain quite critical, not only in the context of the conversation with the stakeholders conference, but indeed also the context of the International Day to End Impunity for crimes against journalists, and also the number one resolution around maintaining higher standards of professional and ethical journalism. The other resolution had to do with internet regulatory frameworks, particularly digital security laws, to ensure that they are democratic. And I've already made reference to the Cyber Security and Data Protection Bill. That is still work in progress, and we are still engaging. Sustainability was also at the heart of the conversation last year, and I think this year we have a dedicated session. In fact, the entire afternoon we are just going to be discussing sustainability, especially in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and how it has affected the media. PEMSEC, I'm not sure if you know, apparently some of our national newspapers are circulating as little as 5,000. It's less. and the sector really is in dire need for us to really see how we ought to have this media as an industry to be viable and for it to really play its watchdog role. And then obviously the question around safety and ensuring that male and female journalists and to also ensure women's representation and empowerment. And this one issue is absolutely critical and was debated robustly this past weekend, that the people that will be speaking to issues are predominantly male. The Justice Minister, the Permanent Secretary, the police spokesperson, at least the new chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee is going to be bringing in that gender balance. But it is indeed absolutely critical at a structural level and also even at an implementing level to ensure that we address women's representation, and we also ensure, most importantly, even the safety and ensuring that it's a safe working environment. And then to sustain engagement between the police and the media, and which is why we patishona ku church twanzo tinonzwa kudziirwa with your presence, Comrade Assistant Commissioner, that we sustain the engagement. We actually are going to start by reviewing also our resolutions that we had in our engagements between ourselves as the media and you as the law enforcement agencies. More so on a day such as this, when we are looking at crimes against journalists, colleagues are going to speak to the exact statistics of the number of journalists that we feel harassed during operations of their constitutional work, journalists that were also maybe perhaps even arrested or that have been beaten and so forth. And it's absolutely critical that we have this conversation and also buttressing that journalism is not a crime, and also to understand each other insofar as where we'll be coming from as journalists and also where you will be coming from as the law enforcement agencies, and meet somewhere in between. Then obviously the issue of improving the conditions of service for journalists, it will continue because I think we know globally that journalism does not pay, but at the same time it should indeed be, journalists should be fairly remunerated, and the SG here will also be speaking to those issues. There was that issue around collaborations with the government through the Ministry of Information in evaluating media reforms, and also to ensure a competitive transition to digital platforms, and which is why we are live on the Zimbabwe Online Content Creators platform, because we value the online content creation platforms and how they will ensure viability. So these are what the resolutions of last year's conference, ladies and gentlemen, and we walk in the discourses and in what we resolve. I think I'm already noticing that we agreed and committed to a lot of things last year. Perhaps this year we will have much more zoomed in, maybe 3 or 4 solid resolutions that would be coming from the various stakeholders as we continue our engagements. But this is what we agreed on last year, and I'm going now to introduce our facilitator who is going to be steering this program from now until the deliberations are done. And I'm sure some will be coming and going as we, this time of the year, we need to fulfill a lot of obligations. But leaving this place will just mean that you'll be agreeing with all the resolutions that will come after. Thank you very much. Let me introduce Dr. Laito Ngube, who is our facilitator today. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Right. Good morning, everyone. All protocol observed. Right. I've already been introduced as Light Ngube. Comrade Kabila omitted the part that I've come from Gokwe. So every time when you say Light Ngube from Gokwe, and then my legion of fans call me Alakat. I've already said I'm Alakat from the Midland State University, the Department of Media and Society Studies. I am privileged to be facilitating at this prestigious annual Media Stakeholders Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. So my duty is a simple one. I am simply there to facilitate. But as I facilitate, or as we engage, as we discuss issues today, I just want to reiterate that the purpose of this gathering is to critically reflect, to critically discuss and to engage media operations in the era of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic is seriously impacted on how the media as well as journalists operate during this period. So the theme of today's discussion revolves around media freedom in the era of COVID-19. So we would want to review how the pandemic is impacted on media operations. It's something that we have been witnessing, so we want to find out from those perhaps who have conducted empirical research on how this pandemic is impacted on media operations. So, and what is also critical today in our discussions is to unpack how journalists have been operating, or how they have been faring in this era, how they have managed to continuously discharge their watchdog mandate. We always pride ourselves as watchdogs, as journalists, as the fourth estate, and today in the era of the social media, some have claimed to be the fifth estate. So we would also want to discuss such developments in the media industry. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, what is pertinent or what is important is for the media space to be a marketplace of ideas, a space where different opinions or diverse opinions contest, a space where different views or diverse views engage and deliberate. So that component remains pertinent. But what is critical, ladies and gentlemen, is also to observe the fact that journalists or media practitioners, they do not operate in a vacuum. They operate in a field which is quite complex. Economists, for instance, they've stated that we have what we call a VUCA environment, and I would also want to say our environment, to some extent, it is somehow VUCA. It's VUCA in the sense that it's a bit volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, ambiguous, and dynamic. A number of actors and forces are at play as we are rightly speaking. So in this, under such circumstances, we need to critically reflect. We need to do a soul-searching exercise and see how best we can serve our key stakeholders. I have always been discussing, and I've listened to a tired cliche where people have been blasting or bombarding journalism as a field, perhaps saying journalism has gone to the dogs. Certainly, there are a number of factors, or there are a number of forces which persuade people to think so. I don't subscribe to that notion to say it has gone to the dogs. Certainly it hasn't. But what is important is for journalists to reaffirm the core principles of the field. So as we deliberate today, perhaps we need to find out ways of saving our profession, or ways of ensuring that journalism remains credible and respectable as a field, regardless of different forces. As I have already alluded to say, in the age of digital social media, for instance, we have what we call citizen journalists. We have also, and in this era again, we have had some academics subscribing to the notion that a fake news industry has been created. Why? Because we continue to witness misinformation, disinformation, etc. Even in the era or when we expect to find credible information about COVID-19 pandemic, we have society has encountered what I would want to term, borrowing from Michel Foucault, multiple regimes of truths concerning the pandemic. So as we review, as we discuss key developments in the media industry, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, we need to come up with strategic solutions which perhaps will leave our field more credible. And another important aspect, as we discussed today, is the subject of media reforms. Certainly, media reforms are both long overdue and necessary, and we are happy. We are happy. The process, we seem to be heading somewhere. Yeah, definitely we are heading somewhere. But we would also want to take stock and find out where are we, and perhaps what we need to do as key stakeholders or key stockholders in this field. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can talk and talk, but it remains important. This is our theme, Chinu Chedu, as media stakeholders. We have to come up with smart solutions. How do we progress as a field? Right. So at this juncture, I'm going to call upon the first presenter. And our first presenter is the chairperson of the Media Alliance of Zimbabwe programs. So I'm saying I'm going to call, that's the chairperson of the Media Alliance of Zimbabwe. That's Madam Vivian Marara Shangaja. So, Madam, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Alakat. I was anticipating a round of applause for Alakat. So already I was thinking, what a hostile crowd, imagine. A refreshing morning to you all. I had also anticipated that somebody from the hotel will come and give us the usual intros. So I'm doing their bit on their behalf. Let me start by recognizing the presence of all media stakeholders in their varied roles, namely the Minister of Justice in absentia, Honorable Ziyambi or his representative, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Mr. Nick Mangwana, Chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Media, Information and Broadcasting Services, Honorable Sipho Ndlovu Mokone. Honorable members of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Media, Information and Broadcasting Services here present, Chapter 12 commissions, regulators, Assistant Commissioner Paul Nyati from the Zimbabwe Republic Police, local, regional and international cooperating partners, publishers, editors, journalists, media practitioners, bloggers, online content creators, students, representatives of civil society, fellow alliance members, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends. Usually I just say all protocol observed, but you know, there are some portfolios that require you to just acknowledge you and everyone in totality. Once again, we are gathered for our annual stakeholders conference against a background of a number of events and notable developments which make the CS event not just another ritual among colleagues and stakeholders. The year 2020 has been a challenging year. It has been a year in which our material existence and the existence of our industry have been threatened existentially through the emergence of the global pandemic, COVID-19. Despite our losses, fears, and unmet expectations, we remain resolute and hopeful that it still remains within our power to change the course of media developments here in Zimbabwe. Therefore, today presents an opportunity for all of us to reflect, deliberate, and plan for the year ahead. Despite the challenges that the media sector encountered in the past year, there were, however, a number of positive developments that we should take time to acknowledge and even celebrate. 2020 saw the partial repealing of the infamous Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act, IPA, which is said to be replaced by 3 laws. IPA consistently featured as a dark spot in discourses around the media and had been used in previous years to stifle media freedom and the enjoyment of access to information rights. Media practitioners, together with media support organizations, expended a lot of energy and ink denouncing this law, and we are happy that finally IPA is no longer in our statutes. As of now, one of the 3 laws set to replace IPA, the Freedom of Information Act, has since been promulgated. As such, we now await the enactment of the 2 remaining laws, namely the Zimbabwe Media Commission Bill and also the Protection of Personal Privacy Bill. The above is indeed a milestone achievement, and it is hoped that the new laws that replaced and will be replacing IPA will be observed in their letter and spirit. Despite the progressive provisions of, example, the Freedom of Information Act, as an alliance, we do continue to register our reservations that the law contains old contradictions which were inherent within IPA. We acknowledge that we may not achieve perfection at once, but we now look forward to the implementation of the law to serve the best interests of the media sector, including reducing tensions between the state and the media, a point that had unfortunately soured our cooperation in the past 2 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, we also welcome the invitation for the submission of applications made by the Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe for community radios and also free-to-air national commercial television licenses. This, of course, came against the background of the enactment of the community radio regulations, which are meant to guide the operations of the sector. The BAS invitation for applications represents an incremental step in the opening of the airwaves so as to ensure that more citizens, including those in marginalized and underrepresented communities, access information and media products. However, for us as a sector, the extent to which the second dispensation is committed to diversifying the media space will be witnessed through the license awarding process. The country benefits little from oligopolies in the media. As such, the media sector should be characterized by diversity and plurality. It is commendable that the government finally constituted the Zimbabwe Media Commission Board. We are also especially happy that the chairperson of the commission is a woman, Professor Rubiba Goshongwe. The coming in of the new board is also against a background of conversations about the need for a co-regulation mechanism amongst media stakeholders. We are happy that differences within the sector have narrowed significantly, and we remain hopeful that the new ZMC board will help bridge this gap forever. As discussed at the 2019 All Stakeholders Conference, there was a recommendation on the need for robust attention on how men and women in the industry are relating to each other. There was also a call for the enactment of sexual harassment policies and the actioning around complaints, both of which I'm happy to say have been followed up on in the past year by both the media houses themselves and also media support organizations. However, we have not yet arrived. More needs to be done to curb incidences of bullying and sexual harassment in the media. Ladies and gentlemen, whereas I have enumerated some of the gains and positives that occurred in the past year, there were, however, also a number of negatives that were recorded. The COVID-19 pandemic that hit the globe this year brought to the fore the fact that our national economies and the industry in particular are vulnerable. Before the emergence of COVID-19, some of our institutions were already reeling from the economic challenges in the country. The emergence of COVID-19, which further resulted in depressed economic activity, culminated in massive loss of revenue for the media as there was less advertising by business and less disposable income to buy media products by citizens. Loss of revenue unfortunately also led to massive job losses in the media, with female journalists also bearing the brunt. As an alliance, we anticipate that these developments will continue to manifest in the coming year, unless and until and if, as media stakeholders, we come together and craft strategies to ensure the resilience and viability of the sector to withstand external shocks and also recover from the challenges that we have experienced this year. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, it is not by coincidence that this year's All Stakeholders meeting is being held today, November 2, a day which was set aside to commemorate the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. COVID-19 regrettably provided a threat to our industry, whereby authorities clamped down on freedoms, including journalistic freedoms, in the name of combating the disease and also enforcing lockdown measures. We therefore saw more than 20 of our media colleagues being arrested and harassed for doing their work under and in connection with COVID-19. Some of the infractions against our sector also included beatings, intimidation, manipulation, and threats to personal security. As I stand here, I reflect on the sad fact that some people and institutions that have beaten, harassed, and intimidated our colleagues have gone unpunished and may never be held accountable. As an industry, we say no to impunity and call upon authorities to investigate all crimes perpetrated against journalists, including persecution of the same. It is prudent for government to make sure that such a situation does not obtain, much less degenerate, as this has implications on the standing of Zimbabwe in the eyes of the international community, more so at a time that the country is talking about re-engagement. I, however, wish to commend the Minister of Information, who in some cases came in to assist colleagues who had unfortunately been unfairly detained. Thank you, Permanent Secretary. As an alliance, we also want to express our grave concern at the new legislative instruments that are on the table, such as the Cybersecurity Bill and amendments to the Criminal Law Codification Act, that will have the effect of closing down the democratic space enjoyed by the media, including the operations of the sector. We are also made to understand that there will be another law, the Patriot Act, that will arbitrarily criminalize certain interaction. This is indeed regrettable and takes our country back several years. We therefore urge the authorities to rethink some of these laws and also negative energies. Similarly to what was done in the unbundling of IPA into 3 separate laws, we urge government to do the same with regards to the cybersecurity and data protection bills, which bundle together three broad issues related to cybersecurity, electronic transactions, and also data protection. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by reaffirming that as media stakeholders, we are positive that our industry can grow and develop in the coming year. However, for this to be achievable, there is need for unity of purpose among stakeholders, including narrowing of our differences as we seek to positively transform the media sector here in Zimbabwe. I wish all of us fruitful and progressive deliberations, and once again, welcome. I thank you.
Twalumba, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation, Comrade Vivian Marara Shangasha. Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, quite moving presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I will invite any quick responses in the next 3 minutes. Any quick responses to your presentation? Let us dialogue. We are here to discuss. Yes, Honorable Chikwinya.
Thank you, and thank you to the Madam Chair. Congratulations for your new appointment. I don't want to be lost in this meeting. From the presentation given by Madam Chair, and am I allowed to speak in my?
Yeah, you're allowed.
handina kuona pabuda crimes against journalists. Ndiri kuona pari kubuda majournalists ari kusungwa, more particularly by the state, during the course of their work. So handichazivi kuti nhasi tiri kuitei. What are we observing today? Ndoda kubatsirwa ipapo kuti in the Zimbabwean context, are we getting journalists who are, while in the field, they are meeting, perhaps they are covering vendors, vendor, they are covering a political event, political parties, or we are having journalists harassing the state. So, kusungwa kwa journalist, is it a crime against the journalist? Ndangoti mungu ndibatsira, otherwise I may be in the wrong place today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Honorable Chikwinya. Somebody to respond? SG, you want to respond to this one? Okay, Comrade Tawan.
Whereby journalists were told to go back home and others being made to do toy in the streets, some being beaten up coming from work, like the case of Leopold Mnente when he was going home with his team members at Warren Park shops by the soldiers and police. Yeah, and in certain instances the lockdown situation was pronounced and legislated, and you had the police and soldiers at checkpoints. And from 1 April to 15 April, we recorded a violation until there was a court process, and then the ministry itself came in smoothly to say, no, journalists are essential services. Allow them to do their work. And also, you know, in conversation with the police, we then set parameters to say, are there challenges and where there was those harassments, we could reach out to the police to say in certain provinces, like what has started happening in Mashingo, the case of Maunganidze and Uzipa, who were then threatened by an assistant commissioner, to the extent that they petitioned the Commissioner General that this is out of the parameters in terms of what is constitutionally provided for. Then you then get to a situation whereby political parties are also political parties are also pronounced in terms of assault of journalists. Here, both the opposition and the ruling party, there's this very sad development whereby political parties invite journalists for a press, and they in their premises
Right. Thank you very much, Comrade Tawani, for the clarification. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is emerging here is that violence, or I could say crimes against journalists, are quite symbolic and multifaceted. And there are various pockets of hostility against the journalists. So we hope for a smooth environment so that our journalists can be able to fully discharge their mandate. I think I would take one last contribution before we go for tea. Normally, if you hear Nkwenchere, you know that tea is closer, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Comrade SG.
Yes. Honorable Chairperson, let me emphasize again that we have the right place at the right time. And that I think we look to different influential people, such as yourselves and others, to actually send out the message that it is actually not a crime to be a journalist. Because when people see political parties beating up or harassing journalists, when they see state institutions such as the military, such as the police, amusing themselves by asking journalists to roll on the ground and to toy, people subliminally assume or get convinced or become unsure, but they think maybe it's okay to abuse violent journalists. To an extent that musicians and comedians, at their shows, find it acceptable to them to harass and to abuse journalists. And therefore, I think it is incumbent upon the government and the Media Commission. We had an acceptable situation, for example, where in a country, peaceful country such as ours, a press conference is stormed by unidentified people, beat up journalists, and go away. Surely we would have wanted the ministry, not only of Home Affairs, of tourism, of information, to condemn that and actually even institute an investigation to say, who are those people who can storm a legit, yes, a press conference, beat up people and go away. I'm sure you remember when there were also incidents involving the military and so on. And whatever happened was condemned. And therefore we expect, or we assume that such an incident should have been condemned to ensure that and give the impetus and strength that journalism is indeed not a crime, and that the safety and security of fellow Zimbabweans should be guaranteed. But the fact that there's still silence after what happened, then it's totally unfortunate. But I think even with hindsight, we can all use such an important day such as this one to condemn what has happened. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. Communicative democracy is pertinent, it's important, ladies and gentlemen. So at this juncture, I would say let us go and enjoy our tea. And then after the tea break, let us convene in committee room 5. Committee room 5. I think it's more spacious, and in line of the principle of social distancing, we can socially distance and enjoy the distance.